How's it going, everybody? ZoinkMeister Patrick. Welcome back to the final part, 2 left to go of this top 20 series.
The final part 2?
The final part 2.
I would be so mad
part 4.
if that happened.
2.
I think that happened in Inuyasha. I think the entire show goes on, and then I think they ended it with a movie called like Inuyasha, the final chapter.
Oh,
and then final chapter part 2 or something like that. I think so. I think it's Inuyasha that does that.
That's great. That's crazy.
And they recently came out with Yashahime, which is the sequel to that. Which, by the way, Inuyasha.
Go for it.
Literally.
Okay.
Inu.
Is dog?
Yasha.
I don't
Spirit.
know. Oh, okay.
It's a long spirit.
What?
And I think Yashahime is literally Spirit Princess.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I always forget how on the nose. But that's not what we're here for.
That's a lot. No.
Yes.
Review what our 5, 4, and 3 were, I guess. just in case here.
Okay. I guess
I mean, it was an hour and a half.
Yes,
so,
yes.
that's a lot.
If you didn't watch all that, I recommend you do, or listen to it. Mow your lawn or something while you're. So number 5 for me was Super Mario Sunshine. Number 4 for me was Zelda Twilight Princess HD, and number 3 was Halo 2.
And my number 5 was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Number 4 was Wet. And number 3 was The Darkness 2. So now we're on to our number 2. What is your number 2 best game?
We're really in the stretch. It is the... Oh, man, I have the wrong year written down here.
Oh.
It's The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Okay.
I had written down 2000, but that's not the 3DS version. That's the original N64 version.
Okay.
So I'm talking about the one that released in another year. I want to say, 11? I could be wrong.
Really?
2011, but I'm probably wrong. But what's yours?
My number 2 is Alice Madness Returns, which released in 2011. I originally played it on the 360, but it's also available on Steam, on the PC, and also probably on the PlayStation 3, but I don't actually know that for sure.
Probably. I was way off, by the way. February 13th, 2015 is when Majora
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I was like, wow, 2011 sounds way too old for that.
Sorry. My bad.
Okay, so the 2015 remaster, which do you recommend that over the...
Absolutely.
Okay, just making sure.
1000%.
The 2000 release of... That's crazy. They're both within our time period, of course.
Yes.
So what puts Majora's Mask... How many Zelda games do you have on this list? Can we
start
with that?
That is a good question.
What is number 1 a Zelda game? Before we...
No.
Okay, all right. So how many Zelda games do you have on this list?
There's actually no Zeldas at all in my 20 through
10.
11.
Yeah, okay.
There is just these 2.
Okay, so it's just Twilight Princess.
Yeah, Twilight Princess and
Mask.
Majora's Mask.
Okay, so yeah, you'll definitely have to explain what elevates Majora's Mask to A, number 2, and B, your highest Zelda game. Yeah, I guess, because you have other ones. So that's where
other one.
Yeah, other one.
So Majora's Mask, bear with me now. I played it on the Wii along with Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
I played it through the emulation.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed you don't have Breath of the Wild on this list.
I don't have Breath of the Wild on this.
Some people would be controversial of you.
Oh, I know.
What fan myself.
Yeah. Oh man, you used your little doily.
It's getting dirty in here.
Yeah, I put 2 lumps of sugar in my tea. So
yes.
Twilight. Majora's Mask does this weird thing where it is one of the most highly atmospheric games that is creepy without being scary.
Yeah.
And it does this really weird, it's a limitation of its design, but also works for it in such a way where it only had a year of development.
That's crazy.
So they had to recycle everything from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
With a totally different story and different soundtrack.
Yeah.
And in this event, because they couldn't redesign essentially this huge sprawling area from the ground up, they were like, okay, what if we just take all the assets from the other one, write a totally different story, and then compact it in this super tight area, but fill it to the brim with quality.
Which I feel like that's the philosophy they took with Breath of the Wild, where they built it from the center out instead of from the out in or whatever. Majora's Mask was the first one to do that, where it's Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and probably most Zelda games just have miles of open space.
Yeah, miles and miles.
Whereas Majora's Mask, you feel it. That feels dense. One moment you are in a field and the next moment you are not in a field. You don't have time to be.
It's you don't understand. Things are happening. And that game does this weird thing. And I don't have nostalgia for this because again, I played it later than I should have, and then played it again. And I was like, oh my God, that was the same game, but it looks so much better.
Yeah, I played it the first time on the Wii as well during the collection.
Yeah.
And I remember being very impressed. It was too difficult for me.
It is absolutely. Time to get through. Yeah, this game is not for everybody. So essentially, it's Ocarina of Time gameplay, but the moon is coming down in 3 in-game real days. Yeah. And an in-game real day, I think, is 45 minutes.
Is it really?
I think so.
Okay.
In real life.
Yeah.
Or no, I think it's it's faster than that.
I thought it was
I want to say it's every 45 seconds is an hour or something like that.
Is it? I thought it was every second was a minute. I thought is how it worked.
It's something of that equivalency, but
yeah.
Essentially you have 3 days and then things go horribly awry.
Yeah.
And you have to use your ocarina of time from the previous game.
So yeah, every minute I think is an hour. So every 24 minutes I think is a day.
Sure. I'll have to look it up because I don't think it was an exact. I thought it was like a weird conversion.
Right. But I mean, it's like you could probably, it's about that. I remember just kind of being
something like that.
Every 30 minutes or so is a day.
And you basically have to run through these dungeons and get the item at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then go back in time because that dungeon should have taken 3 days.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back to the first day.
Yeah.
And you essentially play with time in such a way.
You lose like a lot of stuff when you go back in time.
You lose all your money, but you don't lose any of your items.
Oh, okay.
So when you go back to each day, you essentially already know exactly what's going to happen. The entire game, what is going to happen won't change.
Yeah.
Because you have to go back to the first day over and over and over again. But something you do on the first day that's different from the second day will alter the third day.
Yeah.
And then you can keep something from that day and go back and forth. And it's really strange. It's like a hard concept to imagine for someone who hasn't played the game.
Yeah.
But essentially get item on third day, go back to first day, replay first, second, and third day differently now.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of masks that are totally just, they don't break the game. Like something like fun, like with some Sunshine's like flood pack.
Yeah, I kind of wish some of the masks were
like it would be way more fun if they did break the game.
Yeah.
But
they're
essentially
mostly like dumb, really specific stuff.
Really specific stuff. Like there's a mask that keeps you from falling asleep.
Yeah.
Which is oddly specific. It's for someone, it's an old woman who's telling a story.
Yeah.
Who like normally it's a 2-day long story. So you fall asleep and she's like, and that was the story.
Yeah.
And then like, but if you stay awake the whole time, she's like, wow, you're listening to the whole story. Here's item. And it's like a heart piece.
Yeah.
But there's some that like there's a mask that just makes you blow up or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
There's a mask that lets you see things. There's all kinds of like random junk like that.
That was more useful. I mean, there's the mask that makes you dance in a certain way.
Yeah, there's a mask that makes you dance all seductive, so you can go up to 2 other people dancing all seductive, and then be like, our seductive dance. Here's an item.
Yeah. There's like too much of that.
Yeah, but on top of that, there's 4 transformation masks.
Yes.
That transform you into a Deku shrub, into a Zora, into a Goron, and into
a fierce deity.
A fierce deity. Essentially, right? Those completely change the way you play the game. Like every single person plays differently. They're all required for the respective dungeon.
Yeah.
But you switch back and forth from being young Link and being these like other races of people that inhabit the area, and like because of the hyper density and the storytelling and like the fact that inevitable death is going for everybody.
Yeah.
They all like the first day they're like, a lot of people are like skeptical. They're like, I'm not gonna wear my mask. I'm not gonna get it.
Yeah.
And then like by the second day they're like, okay, that thing's really close. And the third day, the world is shaking and like the sky is red and fire. And like everyone's like nobody's in town. They're like, they all fled to try to hide in the mountains, but death is just only coming.
Yeah.
Like people will like literally be like, well, I'm going to die today. And that's okay, I guess. Like there's nothing I can do. There's like people, there was this sword master. He was all like, yeah, I'm the best sword master ever. I can slice the moon in half if it comes any closer. And then by the second day, he's like, yeah, you guys shouldn't be worried. I'm the greatest person ever. And on the third day, everyone in his sword class or whatever is just gone. And if you go into a sword dojo and you cut a scroll in the back, there's a secret room in the back. And you go in there and you find him and he's crying, hiding in the corner. And he's like, please, we're all going to die. I've lost everything. This is a kid's game. And he's like, you like find these people like juggling. There's like people with like alcohol problems and stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they use milk, but like they make it pretty clear.
Yeah. Chateau Romani is some kind of dairy drink with alcohol in it.
Right.
And like they literally someone gives it to their younger sister to dull their senses, to basically give them drunk bliss before the inevitable horrific death.
Yeah.
It's it's a bunch of weird concepts for a Zelda game. It's the only one like it. It's none of them are like that.
Making a dark Zelda game was something that people probably always wanted, and then we got Twilight Princess. But Majora's Mask existed.
This is a different kind of dark. This is like emotional darkness, not like gritty like Knight's Armor darkness is the way I'm going to say that.
Right.
So it's fantastic. I recommend the 3DS version 1,000 times over because it's the same game but looks so much better.
Yeah.
The second screen basically makes it so that you can make on-the-fly options that you would have done in the menus with like your fingers, I guess. Because it'd be on the bottom screen and like map stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more intuitive and like quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
Aside from it looking much better.
Yeah, I mean, so the things to note about it is probably like the difficulty is really up there. You have to be like pretty committed.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, like walkthroughs may be recommended just because a lot of it's very crazy.
Yeah, very crazy, very specific. There is something I highly recommend. You can go find a song where if you play it, it's the song of halftime. And it cuts the time you have. Or sorry, it doesn't cut it. It elongates it. So you have twice as long to do everything.
Yeah, which is like necessary.
Yeah, it's basically, if you want to enjoy the game and you're not going for like stupid speedrun strats, then that's the way to play the game.
Right. And yeah, it's just a lot of stuff like that where it's like the game drops you in and tells you like nothing.
Yeah.
And so unless you're really committed, I mean, some people are really into that where it's like discovery and like figuring out what you need to do. If you're into that, this game is like probably perfect for you. But if you're not, and you kind of like want some sense of direction, I don't think I would feel bad. I'd say if you're interested in this game, but you don't want to wander around aimlessly for hours on end, don't feel bad about looking up a walkthrough because
absolutely
yeah,
not.
A lot of this game is just not all that well communicated.
You need a walkthrough for like to get the best mask and get all the other masks.
Right.
And there's something, the Cafe and Anjou side quest. That one is like really specific. You have to do something on like every single day in like a certain order. It's like it's too specific. You have to do a walkthrough to get like the best, to see what like the best things, side quest of the whole game. So you'd like need a guide for it.
Yeah, and they give you like a thing to like keep track in game of like what you've done and what
it doesn't work. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's not what you
It's
need.
very counterintuitive. It's more of like a somehow like sideways like pie chart grid slash. It's like, what if we took a pie chart and then like somehow stretched that into a bar graph, but like put it sideways and then made that into a book? It's like, what?
Yeah, it's not very useful. So that's the thing. Like the game's good, but like it needs help a lot of times.
It's really good. There was a fake remake trailer that was done. Somebody made it and tried to pass it off as a leak for the Wii U for Majora's Mask remake. Yeah. And it was beautiful, and I'm still sad to this day that it's fake.
So what did we say? So this is your number 2. I mean, so this is like, we're talking like up there.
This juggled on my number 1 back and forth with the actual number 1 for many a year, and I think this is the first year I finally decided it's number 2.
Okay. And then what makes this like so much better than Twilight Princess, for example?
So Twilight Princess is essentially what if Ocarina of Time was darker?
Yeah.
With some wolf stuff. This is absolutely its own thing.
Yeah.
And if I had to put the two next to each other over and over and over again, I'd be like, I could say Twilight Princess is the better game and like probably the one you should play.
Yeah.
But Majora's Mask will absolutely stick with you forever. And like Twilight Princess, you'll probably forget what's going on.
Right. That's the thing is like Twilight Princess is a lot of fun and you can remember it as being a lot of fun, but it's honestly very forgettable. And like, it's just very easy to forget the like any weird parts about it and just remember like the crazy interesting parts. Whereas like Majora's Mask, the whole time you're like,
crazy interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
What the heck is? Yeah. You're like, you're over here 1 second. You're like, dude, I have to follow this. Like I'm a shrub now. Like it's weird.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's really weird. And the music, they have the best eerie music.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's like that weird sound, like the Majora's Mask theme.
Yeah.
Like everyone doesn't know what instruments it's played on, but you can like imagine it in your head instantly once you hear it once.
Yeah.
And like the Mask Salesman is like arguably one of the most like. He's only in that game in Ocarina of Time, and he's literally just a mask salesman in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and he just does like the finger.
Yeah, he's an omnipotent, like all-knowing god or something in Majora's Mask.
He wrings his hands all the time.
Yeah,
it's weird.
He can like teleport without like animations in between or something.
Yeah,
it's weird.
He has a Mario mask. I mean, that's just weird on its own.
Yeah, he's the mask salesman, so he has all of the mystical masks.
Yeah,
like Majora's Mask was one of his masks. So what do all the other ones do?
Turns out Mario is actually just an alternate universe where Link puts on the Mario mask.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Wahoo! Yeah. Do you have anything more for Majora's Mask?
I think that's about it.
Okay.
Now let's get stinky with it, right?
My number 2 is Alice Madness Returns from 2011.
Another game, I guess, creepy, right?
It is definitely. I mean, it's like it's aesthetically dark without being. It's like
graphically dark.
It's like Nightmare Before Christmas, right? Where like it's dark with big old air quotes. It's like if horror movies were nice, It's like it's take like that vibe. So although there are some actually horrifying things that happen in Madness Returns, but like the main focus of the game is it's just very aesthetically dark without actually being very like.
It's almost like regular.
It like makes like horror fun. I feel like
Alice in Wonderland is like cheery, creepy, where this is like horror. I don't know. It's very hard. I know the style of the game, but I could see how it's hard to put it into words without making it sound like something else. Because I feel like Tim Burton style. Yeah. But like.
Yeah, it's got like a Tim Burton sort of like feel for sure. Not in the way that like the Batman Tim Burton movie, but like
with the like nipples on the armor.
Yeah, that's not what I mean. But I mean
like nipples on the armor.
Yeah. No, it's just like it like takes that like monster vibe and then makes dark fun. I don't know how else to say it. Which it also does have some actually dark and messed up themes, but that's not what I'm talking about. It like separately from that, it does have just I don't know what to call it because like there's no jump scares. There's no like there are some creepy stuff. But not in the way of like Scarred for Life creepy. It's like cartoonish dodo birds with their eyes as screws. And it's like, I described that. And it's like, that's kind of creepy.
That's creepy, all right.
Yeah, they're defeathered dodo birds hung up by their ankles with screws through their eyeballs. And you're like, wow, that sounds kind of horrifying. But then it's like cartoonish. So it's not like, it's not like I'm scarred for life by the dodo birds. Like I'm not gonna, like I don't think about them on a regular basis. You know, I'm just like trying to come up with an example.
Not every day, but most days I think about.
Yeah. So Madness Returns was my number one game until 2017 when it was replaced by my number one game now. Actually, not even. It was my number one game until I played a certain playthrough on this channel, actually, that changed my number one game to be what it is now. Which
interesting.
I
guess we'll find out about that later.
Yeah, ZoinkMeister actually made it my number two game, surprisingly enough. But yeah, so Madness Returns, ton of fun. The thing is, it is also not polished. I cannot stress enough my like top five, with the exception of my number one. My 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the least polished games of all time. Like Madness Returns has so many problems as far as like just glitches. It's Unreal 2 or 3 or something like that. So it has like texture pop-ins just because that's how the engine worked. Okay. Like texture pop-ins are bad. Like bad. Like bad.
God.
It's like
really?
Yeah, but it's not the game's fault. It's the engine's fault. That's just how Unreal works at the time. Like you can play other games that are that same time period in the Unreal Engine and they have the same problems with texture pop-ins. It's not the developer's fault. Unreal just didn't used to be as good. Like, you know, Unreal's gotten better.
Especially
so it's got stuff
Unreal
like that.
5 demo.
Yeah,
God.
and so there's other things that are like the combat's pretty shallow. Like I'd call it the most shallow character action that ever existed. Like whatever. Like I don't know how else I'd describe it besides character action, but whatever you're picturing, that's not what it is. Like it's more, but it's not a hack and slash either. Like the whole point of the game is all the enemies are kind of their own puzzles and you have to figure out how to defeat them. And then once you know how to beat them, then they can like put them, like I don't know how much of this I want to describe because we're kind of recording, we already announced this from a short hike on the channel, Mouse, Melissa and I, and at the end of it we announced that we're playing Madness Returns on the channel.
Yes.
So that's currently being recorded. So I have a lot to say about that game that I will say in that entire series that is coming out on the channel. So like I don't know how much of it I want to get into now. I especially don't want to spoil anything.
I was going to say don't spoil it. I haven't seen the game and I want to watch you guys play.
Yeah, and it's coming out. And so it's like I don't want to talk about too much. The point is you get different weapons in the game, but the combat's pretty shallow. Like there's not like combos or whatever. It's not like Bayonetta, whatever. It's like click, click, hold, click or whatever. Like none of that exists, right? It's all very simple. Anyone can play it. And I think that's a lot of what makes it fun is that Mouse Melissa is playing through the game on the channel. She doesn't play too many video games, right? Like she's not a big gamer, you could say. And so for her, this is like one of the first video games she played and it's accessible. It has difficulty settings. I don't know how big of a difference they make, but it's one of those games where like, if you die, it's actually surprisingly punishing as we've died like twice in the playthrough, but it's just very approachable and they give you all the tools. And so I think what makes the game fun for me, and I thought what it did well as far as combat goes, is that you'll like fight an enemy and then you'll be like, wow, that was pretty tough. Like that was like a really tough enemy. And then like in the next room, you'll fight like 2 of those simultaneously fighting like a bunch of the like other enemies that you fought. And you're like, oh, that wasn't supposed to be tough.
Somebody
like that's just normal.
Spikes?
Yeah. Like, so that's the thing. It's not difficulty spikes. It's just a matter of like, once you know how to beat an enemy, they're not that hard. It's just the hard part is whenever they give you a new enemy, they give it to you by itself. So you have all the time in the world to figure out how to defeat it. And then when it comes up later, you still fight one and then they throw in other enemies. So you're like, you have to remember what you did for that one and then also defeat the other ones, which you already know. And then later they'll throw in like 2 of that enemy. You're like, okay, I can already know how to defeat them and I have to defeat them that way. And then there's the other enemies that have to be defeated in a different way. And so just a lot of that, just compounded learning from the way that it's built. And it's built really well. I think the like difficulty curve is really, really well done. Like one of the hardest enemies in the game, the first time you fight them, they only have a third of their moveset. And then, yeah, the second time you fight them, they get the second third. And then the third time you fight them, they have their full moveset.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just really cool. It's just like the difficulty curve is super, super well done. And the fact that like just every enemy type is just really balanced to be built on top of each other and, you know, build your knowledge of the game. They slowly feed you all the different aspects and stuff like that. And I think it's just super well done. Outside of that, I think the story is good. The main story is a little hard to follow, I think, for a lot of people. So I think the game's gotten a lot of flack for its, like, a lot of the negative reviews are for the story.
Is it like all over the place or is it just like in itself?
It's just kind of split. Like there's a lot that happens between every story beat. And so it's kind of hard to keep track of. There's a collectible in the game, which are the memories. And the memories kind of act like audio things, you know, some games will have that sort of thing. But the only difference is in Madness Returns, the memories are super important to the story. And they're just collectibles. You can miss them easily. And I think like they don't communicate well enough that like you should not be missing those memories. Like that's like half the story is in the memories. So I think it has a really good story. It's just a matter of it's hard to follow because there's a lot of metaphors, a lot of like foreshadowing and hints hints. Like, nothing's obvious. A lot of it is very subtle. It's a lot of subtle storytelling, which I think is just, not everyone's going to catch on, right? And so, of course, if you're a reviewer who plays tons of games and you're not super into this one, then you're not going to catch all the subtleties of the storytelling, So it's just a lot of that sort of stuff. The aesthetic of the game is incredible. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. I mean, it shows its age as far as like graphically, but conceptually, as far as like art design, it is probably one of the most beautiful games artistically. Not in the way that like, we're talking about how Horizon Zero Dawn is called one of the most beautiful games.
Not
but it's
graphically.
Just like, right. But it's like nature scenes and stuff, right? Whereas this is like, you look up into the sky and it's like a painting sort of thing, right? Where it's like all the plants are like these beautiful, intricate
like artistic
works.
direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more the artistic direction is probably better done in this game than any other game I've ever played. It's a very good spectacle the entire time. And just like the theming of every zone like really fits, and like they're all so distinct and very tight and just well done, and you're just like, it's unforgettable every area you go to, just because it's so, everything that goes into it is so perfectly what it should be. So it's just a lot of stuff like that. It's just mostly aesthetically it's perfect. The music is very, very well done the entire way through. All the songs, especially the main theme, I have the main theme like on my Spotify playlist because it's like all the music is well done, all the atmosphere is well done. The story, like I said, is hard to follow, but if you keep up with it, then it's rewarding, I think. And I would say the only downside of the game is it's just not polished. It's just very broken. Especially the PC port that we're playing on the channel is more broken. Yeah, it's not a good port.
So you have the 360 version, right?
I have the 360 version. I've completed this game twice, and Melissa's completed it 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to say, don't you guys have an Xbox One here?
We do, and it's on there. Melissa has completed it on the Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
She completed it on the 360. I've completed it on the 360, and then we'll be both completing it on the PC. Melissa's actually completed it on 2 separate Xbox Ones, because she originally played it on her friend's Xbox One before she got her own, and then she got her own and completed it on there as well. So she's completed it a lot of times. So that's why I highly recommend that playthrough when it comes out, because it's going to be like people who are very invested in the game and very much love it. And I know a lot of other people out there are very into Madness Returns. Is one of those like cult classics where like if you've heard of it, then you probably like it. And if you haven't heard of it, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's honestly a shame. Well, so the reason we're playing it on the PC, no one will know this. I'll tell you guys, you can get excited. I hacked the game code. I didn't. I'm not saying I used mods, because I did not. I went into the game code manually and changed numbers around so that the game now runs at 2K 60 frames.
Wow.
The game was natively 1080 31.
31?
I did not stutter, did I? 31. It had a frame rate cap of 31. So I upped that to 60 and I changed the resolution to 2K. So now you can watch our playthrough on the channel will likely be the only 2K 60 frame playthrough of Madness Returns on YouTube. I couldn't imagine anyone else trying that.
You're going to have to put that like in the title, like so that people are aware.
No, it'll be something special. If you're a big fan of Madness Returns, and I also upped the number of physics objects that can be displayed in the game at one time, so the particle effects are like more magnificent than they've ever been, and like it's more beautiful than I've ever seen it on PC. It's just mechanically it's more broken, so it's harder to play. So that's why we've died, is because like we both are good enough at the game to play through the whole thing on console without dying, but on PC just stuff is like a little bit more broken and it's just a little harder to do. Like the controls have like some weird lag. Like it's definitely not built for controller. We're playing it on controller just for recording purposes. We're not playing on mouse and keyboard, and there's some weird, it's like doesn't take inputs sometimes and stuff like that. It's a little weird.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so the game will look less polished than I promise it's more polished than it'll seem in the playthrough, just because on console it's not that bad. It's just a bad port. But as far as like graphically and artistically, it's like more beautiful than ever. And seeing it in that like new ways is
yeah, really gets your gears lubricated.
Yeah,
huh?
so I hope you guys, if you're here listening to this, I hope you're excited for that playthrough, because I'm
excited. Yeah, the fact that, I mean, the only one on YouTube.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to like look. I would doubt anyone has played it, because I had, like I said, I went into the code. Like it was like not something I thought was possible, but yeah, I did it. So
fantastic.
Yeah, the creator, he was a level designer for Doom. That's why the original game was called American McGee's Alice, because the name American McGee was associated with the game Doom. So that's why he sold it originally under his name. And then Alice Madness Returns dropped that because Doom had come out so long ago, I doubt anyone cared. But so it uses a lot of like Quake style coding, I guess, which is why it's like very accessible. Like everything's like there and you can just go and modify it.
Why not, right?
Which is great. I love it. I'm glad he designed it that way, because it allows me to do something like this, where I was able to remove the frame cap without, I didn't download anything.
31
I just went in.
Dumb. Like
31. It was between 25 was the min and 31 was the max. I changed that to be like 60. It's like this. Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah. So, there's just a lot of stuff. And like whenever the game will like stutter real hard when you cross a loading zone, like it's like got the hardest loading zones ever. Yeah, like the game like looks like it crashed and it's like, okay. And then the game continues.
Oh, I know. Sonic Adventure does that too. Yeah, where it has like a hard like hello?
Yeah,
and like the only reason you think it's not is because like the music also cut out.
Yeah.
And like there's like a loading icon on the bottom, and that's the only reason you know it hasn't crashed.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, oh great, oh no. Yeah, so that's Madness Returns. Love Madness Returns. Number one.
Oh boy.
Top game, better than any other game that you've played for you.
Yep.
We should probably remind people, this is not the top 20 best games ever. These are very much our favorite top 20 games.
Absolutely our.
Yeah, the whole point of this series was for you to get a better idea of the kinds of games that we've loved in our past.
Across like a 5 hour.
Yeah. In the most like detailed way possible. That's how you know. That's like, honestly, that's the ZoinkMeister experience.
Yes, absolutely that.
Yeah, way too much time spent on things that nobody else cares about. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what is your number one? I kind of want to say ours, like, are the name of it, like, simultaneously, because they're very different, so it would be very stupid.
Absolutely different.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things where, like, it's the number one. Like, I don't want to, like, say yours and then just move on from it. But I guess we'll have to do. I kind of want to we should just say them simultaneously.
Okay.
And then we'll just repeat them single so people can actually understand.
Okay.
So we'll do it after one, right? So on go, supposedly, right?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Gravity Rush 2.
4.
So what was yours actually?
Metal Gear Solid 4.
What the year and all that?
In
console.
It is on the PS3, still locked to the PS3.
Oh.
Not available anywhere else to this moment. Konami. Released in 2008. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
My number one is, again, Gravity Rush 2 from 2017 on the PlayStation 4 and only the PlayStation 4. Woo, that game's great. So tell us about Metal Gear Solid 4 and what is your number one game above every other game ever. And you said that you were going back and forth between this and Majora's Mask, which is interesting because for me, actually, I said the same thing. Madness Returns was my number one until the channel started. And then when I played Gravity Rush Remastered on the channel, sometime during that series, well, I'll get into all that. It's your time. So tell us about why number 4, why it beats Majora's Mask, everything about it.
Short and sweet. It's the best game of all time. I'm right. You, the viewer, are wrong. So Metal Gear Solid 4 is this ridiculous, over-the-top, nanomachine-explained mess of a fantastic 10 out of 10, ridiculously well-programmed game. Almost like every single time you hear an explanation, you're like, no, that's not right. Like, that can't possibly... Like, the story is like, no, this is bullshwick. Like, but it's still good. It's just in the own confines of its universe. Like, it's not wrong with itself.
Yeah.
And it's
like machines.
Like, in order to understand literally what anything, you have to play Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3.
I guess maybe something that should be addressed is I think a lot of people were disappointed. If you've heard bad things about 4, like you, the audience, a lot of people had a concept of what Metal Gear should be after 3, because 3 was, what was 3 called? What was the full name? Peace Walker?
No. That's the PSP one. It is.
What is 3 called?
Snake Eater.
Snake Eater. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
After Snake Eater came out, it was very like Metal Gear meets full fantasy. And so a lot of people, I think, had this preconceived notion of like what the Metal Gear universe should be because of what 3 was. And then when 4 came out, it like flipped it on its head and said like no fantasy, all science fiction.
This is its own thing.
Right. And so because of that, I think a lot of people were disappointed in ways that were unfairly harsh on the game. I want to clear the air on that because I think there's a lot of people who've probably heard things about 4.
And I'd even argue the other one, that if you didn't play 3 or 2 or 1, you just won't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so it's this weird thing where I inadvertently, because I'd like played them with my uncle younger, or I played them by myself later.
Yeah.
As I had actually been kept up to speed with Metal Gear.
Gotcha.
Solid, like all of the other ones, like the in-between.
Series,
the Solid series. I'd like played with some like emulation of like the original Metal Gears that are like not good.
My introduction to Metal Gear, by the way, was with 4. And I luckily had you, because I remember the whole time being like, okay, so who's literally every character?
So that guy is just a guy stuck in this guy's arm because his arm is his wife. Like, no, it was so much, like, you don't know what's going on, but it's action-packed the whole time.
Yeah.
And this game, it was only overtaken by Metal Gear Solid 5 when it came to approaching a problem.
Yeah, as far as like actual Like tactical gameplay.
You literally
tactical espionage action.
Yeah, you can go up to any enemy. You can stealth around any enemy. You can like be in a box and like creep up behind an enemy and then be like, "What's this box doing here?"
Yeah,
they lift it up and you're like, "Surprise!" Punch him in the face. You can be invisible and go up to enemies.
Yeah,
you can just go guns a-blazing and like put on a bandana that has infinite ammo and like have a rocket launcher and just go around destroying the place. There's such, and it was only.
I'm going to stop firing when I run out of ammo.
Yeah, but he never runs out of ammo. Yeah, no, you have tranquilizers if you want to go through and not kill anybody.
Yeah.
You can pilot a miniature Metal Gear and go around and shock people, like undo puzzles, pick up guns from the battlefield. There's weapon customization, so you can put like grenade launchers and like red dot sights on all these weapons. There's like complete fantasy weapons. Like there's a musket.
The musket that shoots tornadoes.
Fires a tornado.
Only when you're outside though.
Only when you're outside in like very specific like areas. There's a gun that like literally it just shoots sunlight at people and it still kills them somehow or something. Yeah. There's dolls that you can use. You control people like as if they're a doll. You point the doll and they like turn, like they get, I don't know, possessed by strings and they get pulled upwards and you can just like kill them instantly, make them drop their guns. You can load in specific tranquilizers that have special pheromones with prerequisite emotions. So you can like shoot somebody with an anger tranquilizer and they'll turn around and be like, and start blasting their own guys or something. It has so many different approaches with, I mean, the story's ridiculous, but because of the story being so ridiculous, the premise,
psych meter.
the premise, the enemies are ridiculous. Yeah. So like the weapons are ridiculous. Everything is just ridiculous.
Yeah. And the enemies' backstories, I've like, it's like they're really well, I don't know. I mean, the game explains a lot as that. The game has a weird combination of explaining like too much, but not enough.
Yeah, it's so weird. It'll be like, oh yeah, this chick right here that you're about to fight. Yeah, she was trapped in a basement. She had to eat dead bodies while there was militiamen outside looking to hunt her down and rape her. Anyways,
I didn't need to know this.
Anyways, that's why she can fly and she's a telepath. It's like, wait, what?
It's like, hold up. There's part of that I would rather have been explained, and another part that you really didn't have to tell me. I really didn't need to know that.
Hold on. What? And oh man, it does this fantastic thing where if you play through 1, 2, 3, and I guess this will be 4. Yeah. You know like way too much. There's random flashbacks that you like tap X like during cutscenes, and you'll have like it'll fade in and out of Snake's memory like just for like maybe 10 frames at a time. Yeah. And it'll be like one insert from like Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Solid 1, and you like know exactly what's going on. You're like, whoa, that was weird, because it feels like it's your own memory too. Yeah. So it's like if you played this is basically the loose ends being tied all at once. Yeah. For the entire series. It's supposed to be the last one, but then they bugged Kojima for more, so he made 5. Right. Which 5 the story is completely ridiculous, but the sandbox is even better. Right. Yeah. But I think that you somehow...
That was like the min-maxing for like for like gameplay over the rest of the game.
Yeah. What if there's more options to approach it, but it's less stealth oriented, I guess?
Yeah, and all the like levels are like weirdly flow into each other and the design's strange, but like the gameplay, like actual moment to moment gameplay of 5 is like crazy.
Oh yeah, no, that is I think that's the number 1 I think sandbox ever. And then number 2 would be Breath of the Wild, I think. Yeah. But you just have so many more options in 5. But that's all basically the open world version of 4, I guess. Right, yeah. But yeah, 4 is ridiculous. If you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 4 and you don't have a PS3, then you're out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, I'm right, you're wrong. Like it's just ridiculous. You can't prove me wrong. I'm begging for them to remaster it. I hope there's like when the PS5 comes out, I hope there's like a port that somehow comes to that mid-generation or something.
I don't know, unless Sony can like buy Metal Gear from Konami.
I don't know why. It's like a license to print money. It's Metal Gear. I know.
They made that pachinko machine that had an entire Metal Gear story.
4K cutscenes too. Yeah. I think there was oh man, what was it? It was either Konami with Metal Gear or it was Resident Evil. One of them had a pachinko machine. I think it was Metal Gear. I think it was the only time you can see 4K imagery. Oh. Since I don't think Solid 5 is in 4K. I think it's in 1080.
Okay. Yeah, no, I
so
don't
it was like the only time, like the only crazy. 4K, the first 4K rendition was like on a pachinko machine cutscene.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? And it was like Konami. Necessary. It was like story. Like it was like,
Yeah,
it was
like,
real.
They like added to the universe, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't talk about. We don't. Yeah, I feel like the biggest problem with
we don't talk about Survive.
That's not a problem with 4. That's the biggest problem with 5. Is that it was the end. I guess.
Story wasn't awful. It was just such a Kojima basically said, yeah, you the viewer were gay the whole time. I mean,
it was like plus the fact that it just didn't like the quote ending unquote was like not real.
Oh
like,
yeah. So when I say that, okay, here's some spoiler. Again, it's over a year, so I don't care.
Yeah, don't they even say like end of part 1, like beginning of part 2, and then part 2 like is nothing?
So yeah, they say at the end of part 1, they're like, here's a part 2, and they play like a trailer for what part 2 of the game is going to be. And it looks like it's going to be so action-packed, and it's literally part 1 again, but the missions have like added difficulty.
Yeah.
And they give you different cutscenes, but once you play through all that, part 3 was cut, and you could see in the collector's edition, they ship with a disc that shows you what part 3 would have been.
Yeah.
So you can see what you missed, because it's the only way you would have seen it.
Yeah.
But basically, at the end of part 2, like I said, Kojima literally tells you, the viewer, weren't Snake the whole time.
Yes.
That is the actual canonical ending.
Yeah, I don't know if we wanted to spoil that, but yeah.
That's why I said spoilers for a thing.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, yeah, okay. So as we said that, yeah, the main character of 5, you're supposed to assume is Big Boss, but it's actually Venom Snake,
which they've been it's always said that at your name, like in like stuff, like but like it didn't matter. You're like, oh, okay, well, they call me Venom Snake.
Yeah, I mean, they call him different things like literally every game, like Old Snake and Solid Snake and Naked Snake and Big Boss, and yeah, you're like whatever, you just like throw it away. You do play Big Boss in Ground Zeroes though, right? You are actually Big Boss.
Yeah, you are Big Boss in Ground Zeroes.
But in 5, you play as Venom Snake. The whole point is that, yeah, it is literally you, the viewer.
You, the viewer, weren't Snake the entire time. Yeah. And the best part is it doesn't make any sense because you were literally, canonically, you were a medic who tried to take a bomb out of like...
Yeah, we'll just say stomach. I think stomach is the easiest.
Abdominal area. And that worked out, but there was a second bomb in the other area. That's why you can't use that. It would, whatever it was.
It was in the stomach area. It was in the tummy.
It was in the tummy, but a second bomb was in the stomach, like or the belly, like whatever. So, anyways,
2 bombs in her tummy.
Yeah, there's an explosion, and the helicopter goes down, and then you assume that you were like hurt in the explosion, but actually you were put in a coma. But then the real Big Boss is like, I can use this to my advantage.
Right.
Put you under like the plastic surgeon's table, made you
Which is one of the coolest things is that they make you design your character.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool. And then you come out looking like Snake.
And you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And it turns out that's why, because at the end when you look in the mirror and you're like, that's what the medic looked like. Yeah. Or whatever.
The character you created was what you look like before the surgery turned you into Snake.
Yes, which you would never know until you finish the game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh man, when they did that, it's like... Okay, so they put him under the operating table, made him look just like Snake somehow. I don't know how you do that with hair. I don't know how you genetically change someone to have the same hair and beard hair as you.
No, it's like, I mean, it's like, we're talking like big wrinkle, like Konami, like Kojima moves.
No,
this is the kind of storytelling that only Kojima gets away with. Let's make that clear.
Over the top. Yeah, we and then on top of that, in his coma, while he was already like a plastic surgeon to be like Snake, you literally brainwashed him to have all your skills. Like, I don't understand how that makes... That one's the biggest. So basically, I convinced him he's the greatest war hero of all time.
I don't know how I realized. We got very off topic. We're talking about 5.
I'm sorry.
Your number 1 is number 4.
Basically, 4 is fantastic. 5 is wacky. But if you liked 5, I think 4 is better in everything but Sandbox.
Right.
And I just... It's my favorite game of all time. I can't wait for it to get ported if it ever does. Yeah, if you haven't experienced it.
It has a powerful ending. Like, it's cool.
It literally... It ends super duper powerfully.
I'm not talking about the Sunny thing. That was dumb.
I wouldn't.
It looks like the sun rising. I'm not talking about that.
That was weird. That was somehow like an advertisement for a game that wasn't even in the planning works.
That's not what we're talking about.
But basically, if you play the first 3 Metal Gear Solid and you play that game, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is the best running loose ends. It ties everything with loose ends. Boss fights literally matter. And if you played the series from start to finish as they came out, like from 1998 to like 2004 to 2008, you had these mass jumps, because there was like mass jumps in years too. So it'd be like surprising to you as well if you like played it as they came out. I guess like I did. It would be like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. But if you played them back to back to back to back, you won't get like the feeling.
Right. And there are some people who are into the, like, this stuff shouldn't have been explained, whatever. Like, the fun part was the, like, mystery of it all. But I don't know. I think it does an interesting job, whatever. It's like, and there's, like, what percentage of that game is cutscene? Isn't it, like...
It's like half.
It's like, I heard it's like,
And it has, like 8 hours of cutscene.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, I want to say that was the first time people were like, Kojima should just make a movie. Like,
oh, yeah, no, that game is a game and a movie in one. But it does this fantastic thing of there being, at one point, a super important cutscene or something that will like transition into the gameplay. And if you're just skipping through, you will literally be like, oh, I'm in a church with an old woman.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in a church with the old woman again. Oh, we're outside the church. Oh, she's explaining something. I'm on the back of a motorcycle with like a Gatling gun, and like we're shooting down like flying machines.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Like this.
Yeah,
No,
that one I remember being particularly hard because they at some point they like switched to like we stopped trying to do cutscenes and we just showing images while people talk for.
Oh yeah, no, they did that a lot. They will literally just like bleed in images of the artwork.
Yeah,
like the Metal Gear artwork while like explaining how many nanomachines there were. And like
they have a whole like when they're explaining your mission, you just play as the robot. You just wander around while they just explain what's happening.
Literally,
for, like, so long.
Yeah,
it's literally like half the game is cutscenes.
It's like not even a joke. It's literally half the game. And like the regular game isn't short. So
yeah,
it's like,
no,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
It's excessive.
Yeah, but if you're into Metal Gear and you want to see like the culmination of everything Metal Gear, then like it is that, right? It's more that than 5 because 5 is like a prequel and it doesn't, it more adds than
it's like a sequel to the prequel somehow.
Right, yeah, it's weird. Or yeah, no, 4 is like an ending and it feels like it should be an ending. And Rising came out, Revengeance came out,
which is like feels completely removed in every way, sense,
exactly.
and form.
That is not an ending in any way.
What
right?
if Platinum Games did this?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what it feels like.
4 is definitely the end of the Metal Gear series in every way. Whatever. It is just kind of it just was that, and it's cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So please
tell me.
Hit me with it.
Yeah. Okay. Here you go, guys. My number one. Like I said, yes, Gravity Rush 2, which came out in, I think I said 2017.
I believe so.
Which was the good year. So many incredible games came out in 2017 that Gravity Rush 2 could not have been more buried. Came out in January.
It was supposed to come out in the end of 2016.
Yeah, so it was supposed to come out in December of 2016, but it got delayed to the end of January 2017. The only game that came out before it, I think, was like Black Tiger or something like that. Like, I don't know if you remember that game.
That terrible. Yeah, it's absolutely terrible.
Everything else was bad. But yeah, so, oh my goodness, Gravity Rush 2, I loved it, but it was like my number 2 until when I played Remastered on the channel. As I was playing through it, and I was like talking about it regularly, and I don't know if anyone's seen that playthrough, but I was kind of weird with it in that I like voiced the characters and stuff, and I kind of just really got into the universe of Gravity Rush, and it just made me realize how much
I completely forgot that you voiced everyone.
I voiced every character in because it has no voice acting. Yeah. Gravity Rush 1 and 2 both don't have voice acting. So I decided to do all the voice acting for Gravity Rush 1 because I want a real voice acting. Like I'm not, I didn't do that as like, it's like I did that because I want, like that's what I wanted Gravity Rush to be.
Cute.
Yeah, I want Gravity Rush to be fully voiced, which is not. So yeah, I did my own voice. I voice acted the whole game with every character had a different voice and everything, whatever. It was a lot. It was a lot. I really committed a lot to it. And
a lot.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near as long as the second game.
Yes. Oh my god, the second game's so long. So, but that's when I realized, like, everything I was talking about, like, the things that Gravity Rush 1 didn't do well, whatever, and, like, what Gravity Rush 2 did do well. And by the time I got, like, halfway through that series on the channel, I was like, you know what? I would never do this for, like, Madness Returns. Like, I just don't feel the same way about that universe. I wouldn't do this for any other game. I just love Gravity Rush. Like,
yeah.
And it just, like, hit me, like, halfway through that series. I was like, Gravity Rush 2 is my number 1 favorite game by a lot. I actually really like that game. It has its problems. Like, there's lots of things wrong with that game. Like, Dusty Tokens shouldn't exist. The Delvool mining trench was too much.
Yes.
Yeah, there's like...
Yes. You can't even 100% that game anymore.
I don't think so. No, you can still platinum it. Yeah, but you can't 100% complete it.
Because the mines are shut down, right?
No, not the mines, the Dusty Tokens.
The Dusty Tokens.
Yeah, Dusty Tokens were a multiplayer only thing. The online servers were shut down after 1 year.
Yeah.
And actually got extended another half year, so it was a year and a half. But it was originally going to be shut down after 1 year, and I was like, okay. So much for that, I guess. Yeah.
That's sad because that's the first game I can remember where I had the entire plot, beginning to end, shown to me.
Yeah.
By you.
Yeah.
Like we sat down in front of your PS4.
Yeah.
And like you basically did a mixture of showing me like mechanics while showing me like an irresponsible amount of screenshots.
Yeah.
And like talked the way through it. And we sat there for like 6 hours and I was like, well, that was interesting. Like most people would have been like, dude, what the hell? Let's do something else. But I was like, no, wait.
I appreciate it, man. Because that was but I mean, I think that's probably the best representation actually you could have brought up. I'd forgotten about that. Like how much I love that game. It's just like after I'd finished it, I was like, someone else needs to know.
Yeah, no, it was like because I would have never played it. I don't think a lot of people ever will. And that's unfortunately, I mean, you could say like, oh, well, Patrick loves games that like nobody's heard of. It's like that one has no reason why it's not loved. No. It is a first party Sony exclusive.
Yeah, it's SIE Japan. It's like, a first party.
Sony doesn't advertise it. They don't put it in collections of Sony exclusives on the PlayStation
and like,
Store.
More than just that, like for people who don't know, SIE, Sony Entertainment, like
that's
Sony
the main
International.
one.
Yeah, it's like, it wasn't like it was made by a company that Sony completely owns. Like you could say, what was the new thing that like Bethesda games are technically first party Xbox now because Xbox owns them, right? Didn't Xbox bought Bethesda, right?
Yeah.
So like that's technically first party. We're not talking about that though. We're not talking about like companies that Sony owns.
Or like second party, like Naughty Dog. Like this is like
like Sony themselves, the company that made the PlayStation, made Gravity Rush.
And it wasn't even by like a bunch of like nobodies. It was the director was the guy who did Silent Hills.
Yes, the director of Silent Hill.
Like this is like
creator, creation, the visionary, like designer
of arguably the second most popular horror franchise on the planet, right after Resident Evil.
Created and directed. The music was done by the person who does all the music for One Piece, the anime.
Did not know that.
Yes, the musical
composer.
Yeah, the composer is the same composer who does all the music for One Piece. The music is incredible. To me, that game is like so near perfect. Like the music is flawless. It's so good. The like graphics, it's up there. What's like, I said Madness Returns is like probably the most artistic visual design of any game I've seen, whereas Gravity Rush 2 is like the prettiest like pastel style,
vibrant.
Like vibrant. It's like the Mario, like it does better than like Mario Odyssey at being like just pure cartoonish fun.
Nice color. That game also, it's another one of those huge improvements over the prequel.
Oh my goodness.
First, it's like, I think arguably the biggest difference, and I don't think you understand, I have Gravity Rush 1 for the Vita. Remastered is not the original Gravity Rush. No. That is the PS4 port of a Vita game. I played the original Gravity Rush on Vita because Patrick got it for me for my birthday way back when. And just seeing it, I was like, oh my God, this is like a Game Boy game to PS4 difference. Of like, it's like a huge difference.
No, the difference between the original Gravity Rush and Gravity Rush 2. that's not even close. But even remastered to 2. I played remaster. I never played the original. And then a year later, I played Gravity Rush 2. And like, there's a certain point in the game where I actually felt nostalgia for like the first time in my life for a game I played a year ago. It's that level of like the difference between the first world in Gravity Rush 1, where everything is Eastern European brown architecture with a green sky. People have like robot chicken mouths where like they have flat faces where their mouths just like move on top of their like painted like on their face. So like
I love it. More like the Kylo Ren. More.
That was Gravity Rush 1.
I love it.
Cut to Gravity Rush 2, which has this like Eastern bizarre like Caribbean weird like
that's the opening.
That's the opening area is like colors and like
full
particles
of life.
It's so pretty, and there's like characters, there's like people everywhere. It's so packed with like, you can walk through the characters so it doesn't like bump into you. It's like packed with like life and like just so much just energy put into like every everywhere you look. And you're in the sky and there's like the clouds flying by, whatever, and it's like, because you can fly in that game.
I mean,
you can can pick which direction you fall.
Yes, it's gravitational control, which honestly, it's not done like by other people. Like it's not flying. It's a hard way to.
It's hard to describe, but it's not flying. It's because there's like Superman games. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. It works more you're literally
like in Just Cause. You basically fly. I mean, you glide, but like you basically fly.
You lock yourself in place, and then you could change where your axis is in like X and Y.
Yeah, you choose which way's down, basically.
Yes.
You're allowed to, like, cancel gravity and then pick the new down.
Without your camera changing position. That is where Cat will start to fall.
Right.
Without changing position in the world.
Right. That's, it's like, if you can imagine, like, if Galaxy wasn't so, strict. Like, because in Galaxy, you'll, like, jump and then, like, oh, the new gravity,
Mario Galaxy.
Super Mario Galaxy, yes, thank you. This is not like that at all. This is like, you pick the new down, and that way is down for you. You'll fall in that
just
direction.
You.
Yeah, just you, nothing else. Although if things are really near you, then they'll also fall
Be
that
stuck
way.
in your field.
Yeah, which I just feel bad for those guys. But
they're fine.
Yeah, the game, like the story, the reason why I chronicled the entirety of Gravity Rush 2's story is because Gravity Rush 1 has this huge problem where each act has no relationship to the other acts. And so when you get to the end of the game, it's impossible to remember what happened.
Like, what?
Yeah, because everything that happened is completely like not related to everything else that happened. I was worried Gravity Rush 2 would be the same way. I actually replayed Gravity Rush 1 before I got Gravity Rush 2 just so I could like keep track of what was happening because that story is so impossible to follow. And so then when I was playing Gravity Rush 2, I chronicled the entire story in case this happened because like this second game is going to be so much harder to just replay like that instead I'll just basically write it all down. And that way I can revisit. If I have to remind myself the story, I can do it like much easily. And so I showed it to Adam.
Oh yeah, her name's Kat.
Yeah. And so there's just like so much there. And they added mechanics. They added the Jupiter gauntlets and the lunar gauntlets.
Different styles of play.
Yeah, the mining trenches and stuff was weird. And so it's also, this is like a big spoiler for Gravity Rush 2, but I'll never play it on the channel probably because it's very long. So
very long.
Yeah, I'm just going to cover I'm just going to say it now. Spoilers for Gravity Rush 2. Gravity Rush 1, there were 4 maps, right? Or it was technically 5 maps, but there were 4 maps.
Yes.
There's the 4 basically Hexville, right? There's Audnoir, Pajorn, Industria, and Vendicenter. And there's also Bodome, but we're not talking about that one. There's the 4 cities in Hexville. All 4 cities are completely redone from the ground up and are in Gravity Rush 2, in addition to 4 more cities that are exclusive to Gravity Rush 2. So Gravity Rush 2, you start in the new area, which is called Jiraparalao, and there are 4 areas, but there's only really 3, and then the middle one is actually like twice the size of all the others, and it should be 2 separate areas, but they didn't do it because there is a 4th area, but you never go there, and it was just dumb.
I liked it.
There's those 4 areas, one of which is like probably the first area in the game, which is the biggest one, is the size of the entirety of Gravity Rush 1. And then there's 2 more maps on top of that. And then again, a 4th map that you rarely visit. And then after that, like halfway through the game, not a little closer than halfway, maybe like more than a third, less than half, you show up in Gravity Rush 1 in Hexville. And then the entirety of Gravity Rush 1's map is now available to you. And that's like huge. So we're talking like this game is like 3 times the size of Gravity Rush 1. And something, if you watch my Gravity Rush 1 playthrough, something I pointed out is, yeah, the Gravity Rush 1 map might not be as big, like top down as Grand Theft Auto 5, but something different in Gravity Rush 1 and 2 is you can walk on every surface.
Verticality.
Yeah, so all of the surface area is part of the map. The side of a building is a street space just as much as the sidewalk is.
In GTA 5, you basically only have the floor. Like,
exactly.
Or in most games, you only have the floor.
Right. Like,
right?
So you can
like
land
Spider-Man,
on
I guess you have more.
Yeah, and you can land on like the tops of buildings. But even in Spider-Man, like you can run up a wall, but you can't like you can stroll up a wall in Gravity Rush 2. You can have an entire fight on a wall in Gravity Rush 2.
And you don't understand, there's something about the areas of Gravity Rush 2 aren't like a normal map. They're like giant floating islands.
Yeah, it's not at all like Spider-Man. Where you're like, yeah, Spider-Man, you can climb on walls. Like, no, this is more like, there was one Spider-Man game where you could fight on the sides of walls, and that one was like, okay, technically, then you can add that space. But like Spider-Man PlayStation 4, like you don't fight on the side of a wall, right? Like no one else can climb walls except for you. You fight on the ground. And the ceiling, you can't even stick to the ceiling in that game. Like there's no way to like climb along the ceiling. Whereas in Gravity Rush 2, yeah, it's weird, but it doesn't exist. That's why you go into the top and you can go into the ceiling, but you're still down. You're actually just crawling on the floor. And when you go through the vent, you go actually straight down because you can't climb on the ceiling in that game. It's the weirdest quirk ever. Yeah, but Gravity Rush 2, you can't. You can go on the ceiling. You can go literally anywhere and everywhere. It's like like in a Breath of the Wild, they say if you see it, you can go there. It's like no. Like, literally in Gravity Rush 2, if you can see it, you can land on it. Like it's all of it. Like it's all here. Like
everyone's here.
And so even besides that, the map philosophy, the gameplay design philosophy being completely unique and nothing like it. There's no other game where you control gravity that way and like everything's accessible. The music is flawless. The character designs I think are wonderful. Like even their like aesthetic design and even their actual character design, like I felt so connected to the characters that I was able to voice all of them and give them their own personalities and roles. It just shows like everyone's so distinctive and memorable, and I love it. Like every single character feels useful.
Write to your congressman and find out why Sony doesn't want it to succeed. Because it's weird. It's weird. There's nothing.
And past that, even the story of Gravity Rush 2 fixes itself. It's not Gravity Rush 1. It's actually good, and you can follow it, and it's fun, and it has like incredible themes. Like there's a scene in Gravity Rush 2, again, not a big spoiler. This is the minorest of spoilers. I mentioned it because some people might not even realize it because it's so graphic. There's a scene where a bunch of impoverished civilians are huddled in their like community center, and the army kicks in the door and opens fire into the crowd of unarmed civilians. And there's pandemonium as like the local government starts murdering civilians on the street. You're like, wow, this game is infinitely darker.
Oh yeah,
than
no,
Gravity
and
Rush
it's just
1.
because they won't wear their masks.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
It's not like Gravity Rush 1. No one dies. Literally, not a single person dies in all of Gravity Rush 1. Gravity Rush 2.
Don't spoil.
Okay.
But, oh man, yeah, it's a darker game.
There's like actual graphic like stuff that happens. We're like, oh my goodness, that's not okay.
Yeah, like especially because it's still, what is it, rated T?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know. Yeah,
it's like the brink of what like rated T is like. Well, like the person who was reviewing it's like, eh.
Yeah, it's
like, I guess that's.
I mean, the last one was T. Yeah, no, I don't know how they got away with. If it is T, I don't know how.
I don't know. He has 2 copies of this game, right?
I own
3 copies, right?
I mean, I own the digital version, a physical version, and then the Japanese version. So if you want to count that as 3 copies,
I would. I do.
Yeah, there you go. I kind of want to look it up. Actually, I could probably go grab it, but I'm too lazy. But yeah, so the story, and then yeah, a lot of the story features like poverty gaps really well. The fact that like there's this one mission where you have to choose to save this like rich old guy or this like poor little kid, and if you actually replay the mission because whichever one you choose like changes what happens. And if you choose to save the little kid, then he's like, why did you save me? I'm nothing. And if you choose to save the rich old guy, he's like, you made the right choice. I'll pay you handsomely.
Yes.
Oh, it is rated T.
It's rated T, and if you want to see the reasons below.
Good. It's rated T for blood, fantasy violence, mild suggestive themes, partial nudity, and use of alcohol.
Oh,
partial nudity is probably...
partial nudity.
I get that. It really is that. But yeah, it's one of those games where you're like,
you're 16, you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
You're like, yeah, okay, technically, like, it's not Doom. Like, no one's like tooth is getting ripped out and shoved through their eyeball. There's some dark stuff. Like, it's not
stuff that shouldn't be there. For like the how. Well, I mean, like you said, when you open fire on civilians or what? Not you. When other people open fire on civilians, it like the game is so vibrant. I guess you, the player, is like such a happy, almost innocent persona.
Yes.
That like when something dark happens, it's like unusually dark for the situation.
Yeah, I need to find this thing. I don't know where I wrote it down. Where I talk about here. You keep saying your thing while I look.
Yeah, so it's like this really weird. I don't know what you would call it because Kat as a character is such an innocent. I don't know. There's almost like a sheen of like glimmer on her relative to everyone else. Because everyone else is kind of like, I don't know, that not cyberpunk, but like when everyone is like so used to things being bad that they just like don't like expect things to be good.
Yeah.
But she's like a shining beacon of like, I'm the protagonist. Like, so she's so nice and so kind. And like everyone is always like so depressed or like a rich, snotty old person, right?
Yeah.
That when like something like that happens, she's like, oh my God. And they're like, yeah, they fired into a group of civilians, all right. But you've been playing as this like bright, shimmering protagonist. So it's like extra dark. Whereas if you like rip someone's head off in Doom, it's like, well, I've been ripping a head off all day. What do you mean? It's like it's nothing new.
Right, exactly.
Constantly
no, this game, like
off.
that sort of stuff sticks out to you. Man, I don't think I wrote it. I think I deleted it, which sucks. I had this whole paragraph about how Gravity Rush 2, I think it's the greatest superhero game ever made. Well, more than that, I'm not saying that so much as I'm saying that it personifies what I would expect out of a superhero game more than anything else. Hey, so this is ZoinkMeister Patrick from the Editing Present. I just wanted to quickly insert here that I actually did find the paragraph in question immediately after we finished recording this. So I have it up on screen. I'm just going to read through it real quick for you and then talk about what I think, because I kind of talk about other stuff in the video because I didn't remember what I had written down. It says here, Gravity Rush is the best Superman game of all time. You come from another world, which is for Kat, the city on top of the pillar, whereas Superman is, of course, Krypton, and you have to overcome prejudices in that world, which for Kat is the destruction that Raven caused before you appear, whereas for Superman, it's just the fact that he's an alien. And while you do this, you slowly go from menace to hero in the people's eyes, which might be more of a Spider-Man thing, but you can also walk on walls in this game, so. All this comes across in a lighthearted story, more focused on your individual actions with the people, like Superman's hearing allowing him to help random people in danger, than it does as you versus a mega villain. since in Gravity Rush 1, no one really dies. Of course, Alias was crushed, but, he turns out to be a robot. In Gravity Rush, you can fly like Superman through your fall ability, you can run faster using your gravity slide, and you can jump really high, because there's no fall damage, and if you use the lunar style, then you really can jump really high. Plus, you take very little damage from bullets, at least in Gravity Rush 2. You fly around, smacking into generic enemies or best them on the ground with your super strength, hitting it or throwing heavy things very fast and far. It's really the perfect superhero game. There's even the Green Lantern situation where there's a new hero that everyone likes better despite being clearly worse. That'd be Kyle Rayner for the Green Lantern or Callie Angel in Gravity Rush 2 for Cat. Of course, this was written before Spider-Man PlayStation 4, so I would say that there is a lot of things that Spider-Man does really well. It still doesn't capture that sense of down-to-earth, day-by-day hero time. It's more one of those grand-scale adventures that I think Gravity Rush 1 doesn't really focus on, and I think that's what makes it special. And so I'll go into that during the podcast, which you're about to hear, but I did want to really quickly highlight what I had, just in case anyone was interested. Spider-Man does a lot of things well in, being Spider-Man, whereas Gravity Rush is, I'm saying, generic superhero. As playing her, you play what a superhero is expected to be. I think a lot of people's complaints about that game is there's, 40 side missions, and only 20 main missions. And a lot of those side missions are stuff like, this kid has a bird, and he wants to, race the bird. And so you have to, race the bird and beat the bird in a race. And you're like, this is dumb. It has nothing to do with the plot or being, but it's no, but that's what being a superhero, is. Yeah, when we play a Spider-Man game, we see the, big event, or Batman, right? You look at the Arkham games. Those take place in a single night. That's, not what Batman's average day looks like. That's just one fantastical event that you get to witness. Whereas Gravity Rush is not that. Gravity Rush, you go on patrol, and you, find random civilians who just want, random help, and you just are a nice person.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah, and you never get paid. There's literally zero reward for doing missions other than the fact that
it makes you feel morally good.
Exactly. That's the whole point, is just that's who Kat is. She's just a nice person. She'll help anyone who asks for help. And you as the player are encouraged to do the same, I guess. You kind of empathize with her in that you are choosing to do these things because you want to do them, not because you're expecting a reward, because the game makes it clear that you get no reward.
Yeah, they're actually very, from what I understand, I don't know the game as well as you, but there's no looming overshadow of a moral compass. There was no Uncle Ben shot down because your actions weren't done. It's you know what? I should probably save these people.
Right.
Or it's I don't know. She's very...
No, Gravity Rush 1...
It's a good person.
Just opens up with her having no memory of anything. And the first person that talks to her says, please save my son. And she says, okay.
Sure.
And that's it. That's how she became a hero. It's just because someone asked for help and she said, I'll do it.
And that's basically been the entire plot from that point onwards.
Yeah, and
she's just a good person.
Yeah, and so that's why I love it more than anything else. Is you could argue that the Marvel Spider-Man, the story it tells, I think is incredible. I think it's a really great game, especially for its story. But something that Gravity Rush does that I don't think anything else can capture is that sense of innocence that just comes with being a good person. And you as the player just do that. You just are encouraged to be a good person and help people out. And not everything you do is grand. There are grand things. Crazy stuff happens. Entire cities get blown up, and you're
whoa.
Yeah, crazy stuff happens in that game. There are stakes. We're talking end of the world stakes in that game. But then there's also these quiet little side missions where the wealthy population is hoarding fuel, and so the poor population doesn't have fire to keep them warm at night. And so
food.
Yeah, so you have to decide, this lady ordered fuel and she paid for the fuel, and so you can either deliver the fuel to her that she paid for and ordered, or you can steal it and give it to the poor people who might not survive the night if you don't. And you're what kind of decision do you make as a person? And whichever one you choose, that's what you choose. The game doesn't punish you. The game doesn't encourage anything. It just gives you the situation.
There's not a good end or bad end.
There's no good or bad.
Meter.
Yeah, no, it's not it won't change anything else. It won't affect the story, whatever. It's not the end of the world is going to be any different because you gave it to the poor people or to the rich people. It's just a matter of
poor people.
Yeah, it's just a personal decision that you have to make for yourself and decide what am I going to do here? I'm the hero, and what choice am I going to make? And that's just something you have to ask yourself in that moment. And it's a video game and it doesn't matter, but
it kind of does. It's an experience. Right,
exactly. It provides those opportunities in a way that I've never seen anything else do, right? It's I wouldn't be surprised if that's something, because most people did complain about those side missions and that they don't affect the main story.
Did they? I've literally never heard anyone A, play the game besides you, and B, ever complain about the game, mostly because I've never played the game.
Have you ever heard of Should You Buy?
By Game Ranks?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
They reviewed the game. That was one of the few reviews that I watched. They were like, yeah, it's good, but like, I don't get it. I think was basically the review. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if it works for reviewers. Like, I feel like it has the same problem. Not the same problem, but it's like Psychonauts maybe, whatever, where it's one of those games that I don't know if it catches the eyes of reviewers in the same way that Cyberpunk 2077 is an absolute massive thing where like everyone was super into it. Whereas Gravity Rush 2 has some of the best, like I've even touched on the fact that the character animation is so good. Like the actual cat's animation in the game is incredible. Like we were looking at...
oh yeah, the little flips and does, like she does to like avoid things like mid-run is like
everything's
really cool.
Very contextual to the world around you. Like I couldn't imagine the amount of calculation that has to go into like her running cycle fitting in the world and like her falling like fitting in, and she'll like move out of the way of stuff, and like it looks really cool. And like when you jump, she'll like her jump will like avoid stuff, and everything's super contextualized. And like the fact that they gave all these animations to make everything run in fluidly, like even if you watch my tips, tricks, and skills video that I put out like forever ago on this channel, there's one bit where I press the jump button and she does like a full 360 and it looks like you're like, okay, that was clearly a bug, but it looks fluid. Like they had the animation for it.
It
like
looks
it doesn't
really good.
Yeah, like no matter how broken it gets, the fact that it still looks good.
And for like context, I believe it was it Arkham City or maybe Arkham Knight, but one of them required like thousands of lines of coding to make sure like the cape looked realistic the whole time. And I think Assassin's Creed, I think like Unity onwards, someone was like, oh yeah, this takes thousands of lines of code just to make sure the crouching like consistently looks realistic as you sneak around and do things, because the way crazy. It like the geometry.
Even you have there's cloth physics in Gravity Rush 2.
Yeah.
Which is probably something that like if they hadn't done it, would I have noticed? Probably not. I wouldn't have thought about it once. But the fact that they put full cloth physics into the game, whereas like as you're flying through the air and the wind is like buffering you, and the like her cloth is like buffering around and stuff. It's like, wow, so much.
That's nice.
Yeah, it has realistic clouds. If you go into a cloud, it's just fog. It's like actual, like that's how clouds work.
Yeah, it's really cool, especially if you consider like in most games, you don't realize that your animations are preset. And like, let's say if you're going to climb something, usually you can't really climb anything unless it's Zelda, where you can climb anything and they don't change the animation.
Right.
But basically where your feet go are like already predetermined by your animations.
Right.
But in this, when he says like calculations, it's like, oh, she's falling at this speed.
Right.
She's gonna hit this is the closest nearest object.
Right.
Like she has to flip around and do this animation in this certain time, or else it won't look realistic.
And
to
it
the point.
like it even fits where like I have this, again, the same video, the tips, tricks, skills video, whatever. There's this one part where like I don't know if you're not like a big video game person, you might not see it. I guess because I've even showed it to like family members who don't play video games. I don't think they like it's like done so flawlessly that like you don't see it, sort of thing. It's like when editing is so good that you don't notice it, sort of. It's one of those where like I jump off of a building and she like does a flip, and then I land, and I jump again to this like lower ground. She does like a backflip and lands, and then I jump like off of the island into the air, and then she does like a head forward dive and then starts spinning. And it was like, if I were to land on ground, that would have looked weird, but somehow it knew there was no ground there. Like once I jumped, it was like everything was perfect. I was like, wow, that's exactly what I would expect to happen if a real person were trying to do that and had her powers and stuff like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't, your consciousness as a human, when you sit in a room, you like don't have to like imagine all the possible ranges of things you can do to make it look realistic, because you're like confined to physics.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you had powers, you wouldn't be doing a dive bomb if you had like only 10 feet of like rock behind you.
Yeah.
But like, you don't have to think about that because you'll die. Like,
right, exactly.
Whereas this game has to pre-calculate your distance, I guess. Yeah. But it's so weird.
I don't know how it calculates any of it.
Because the x-axis, really because there's on floating islands, your x-axis like isn't zero. It's not set to zero because you can go lower than what zero would be.
Yeah.
Because
and
you can fall down.
All of the maps are completely connected. There's no loading zones. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are like actually in the code, but like just the way it works, you can fly to the top of the map and then just drop through all the maps, and nothing stops you. Like it just keeps going, and like everything's so fluid and seamless, and it's like, wow, I don't know where zero is. Yeah, because it's like the bottom, I guess. Like, so I guess
know. They probably make zero, or not zero, but what would be zero, Cat herself, and then do a distance from relative objects in the fall direction is the only way I could think of how you would have to do it.
Yeah.
And if it goes past a certain width, they'd be like, oh, okay, it must be like irresponsibly far away.
Yeah.
So there's like no reason to have it relatively close, but it must be continually checking at a certain distance interval. It's like a lot of, I guess, computer-minded calculations you have to like see, but in the end result, you don't have to think of any of that. You just you just click the button and have fun.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely the most polished of my top 5 by far. Like the other ones are not polished, and the reason I have them so high on the list is just there's this like amazing concepts that I feel like anyone could finish and polish them. Whatever. If the game was just given away to some random company, anyone could go in and like, okay, that's a bug. How do we fix that? But the actual design philosophies of my top 5 are all ones that are like someone creative came up with that. Gravity Rush 2 was the only one that actually managed to execute because it's Sony and they have the budget for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It actually like went through, and because the game was delayed like 1 month or 2 months or something like
We're
that.
so sorry.
All the DLC is free.
We'll give it all free.
Like, I was like, really? Like, if you just told me it had to be delayed, I'd say that's okay because this game's incredible. The fact that they were like, did Cyberpunk do that? I don't think so.
No.
No, yeah, Gravity Rush 2, they were like, we're sorry, we delayed it to like a month. I guess we'll have to give you the whole like DLC chapter free. I was like... So yeah.
Sure. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I bought the soundtrack to the game twice just because I don't know how to support the developers anymore.
Yeah, it's very sad since essentially there's nothing that game did wrong.
Literally nothing.
It's just the fact that it wasn't advertised well enough. It's a sequel, so people also won't be inclined to buy it since they'll feel like they're missing out.
It had like no advertising.
And then 3, it's not so much an artistic game, but it's such a how would you say it's such an experience that isn't for the mainstream audience. Like, it's not an Among Us, it's not Call of Duty, it's not like...
no, it's not like, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, I don't even know. Yeah, it would be a weird world where like people were hyped about Gravity Rush 2, like, ooh, yeah. It's like nothing's exciting. It's like really chill game. It's a
very chill game, very cool. Would I say it's for everybody? No. Would I say it'd be cool to just play the game and be like, yeah, if you like have the time for it because it's a long game.
Yeah. The composer is Kohei Tanaka, which, yeah, he's the guy who did all the music for One Piece. And then, the designer is Keiichiro Toyama, if you know that name. He did the Silent Hill. So those are the 2 names. I just couldn't remember their names. They're Japanese.
That'll learn them.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The music's so good. Literally, what is your number one?
Garvey's Wing?
Oh yeah, Garcy's Wing.
Garcy's Wing. What was the name he kept saying every single time?
This must be the place where Yamato Takeru no Mikoto came down from the sky.
Show me the ancient Japanese man's spirit.
What the? Who are you? A damn ghost?
Why do you think this is the work of a ghost?
Then who are you? Are you Yamato Takeru no Mikoto?
I don't remember. It was so long. Yeah, I guess recommend if you want to watch Garcy's Wing episode 1 dub on it's on YouTube for free. It's hilarious.
Don't pause it. Weird. Just watch the whole thing. You're not missing anything.
No.
You're not. That's the first episode.
There's nothing before that.
You're not missing anything. If you're like, wait a second, no, just keep watching it.
Yeah, you're like, maybe I should look up some backstory. Like, nope, don't worry about it. There is none as far as I know. Just watch.
That backstory of what's happening is the current. It's all you need to know.
Is what you watch. Yeah, you know as much as anyone else does. But yeah, so Takahiro Masakaru Dara. Yeah, it's a lot.
So long, and every single syllable is pronounced so hard.
He spends way too much time on it. But yeah, so anyway, Gravity Rush 2, my favorite song ever is called Nightingale, not Nightingale, the bird. Nightingale, 2 words. And it is my favorite song from any video game ever. It's incredible. It has an amazing saxophone part. I listen to it like all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that song.
Snake Eater's mine.
Yes, which is from Snake Eater, Solid 3.
From Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic song. I still can't believe it doesn't feel like it's a video game song. It feels like it's like a 1960s, like some blonde woman in a red dress singing in like a crowd, an old school bar.
Yeah, which I would say is true about in a different way, Nightingale feels like the best adventure song ever. Like, it doesn't have to be nothing about it is Gravity Rush or video games. It could easily be an anime song, or it could be any adventure ever. It's just the most hype adventure song I've ever heard. Like, if I'm driving long distance in the car, it makes my trip more exciting.
Yeah, music in video games is special. I play a bunch of anime music in the car all the time.
Yeah.
But if it's video game music, it's to not fit in the realms of video game music.
Yeah.
That's it's just like regular music applied to a video game.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is all the music in Gravity Rush 2. I mean, so the world themes, like the Industria theme or the Pleasurehorn theme, those are very much video game songs in that they're looped songs or whatever. But Nightingale is not that at all. It is just a song, and it's just really good. It's I wish I could have listened to it live. Apparently there was a live performance of it at some point. There was a Gravity Rush 2 music there's a live performance of all the Gravity Rush 2 music.
They could have saved on that money and just used that for the advertisement budget.
Yeah, I know, but it's all good. I swear. It is orchestral, it beats all the Nintendo games, like the Mario Galaxy 2 soundtrack. That's really good. I'm like, no, sit down, Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah, I think the Zelda one is the most popular. The Zelda, what is it called? The Gold Symphony or whatever.
Is that I'm thinking of the ones that are
travels yearly.
Okay, whatever though, very orchestral, oh my goodness, I love the Gravity Rush 2, because it includes all the songs from Gravity Rush 1, except for the only song that is not in Gravity Rush 2 is Gravity Rush 1's title theme, which was a very good song, admittedly. And the credit song is also not in Gravity Rush 2. Those two songs are very incredible, and unfortunately they're not in Gravity Rush 2. But every other song from Gravity Rush 1 is in Gravity Rush 2. Like the entire soundtrack. You can just, Gravity Rush 2. It's very long, but like there's a lot of good songs there. So yeah, I could not praise that game. And I know we spent more time on that game probably than we spent on the entire rest of the podcast.
It's okay. It's a good game, and it's like underappreciated. So it's like a lot of people aren't ever gonna have any other experience to it. Besides, like, this explanation, maybe?
If you've never heard of Gravity Rush 2, then join the club. I hope one day it becomes, like, one of those cult classics that no one can say anything bad about, but also nobody played.
If you have PlayStation Now, it is available for download on your PS4.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I have it. I haven't played it, but I had PlayStation Now. I no longer have PlayStation Now, but it still appears in my library with like a little PlayStation Now lock, so if I ever resubscribe, I can re-download it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. If you have a chance to play that game, I have several copies of it, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially because no one knows it exists. It's like one of those things where like I recommend it partially just because I want people to know about it. Like, I'm hoping if you are aware the game exists, then maybe the rest of the world can be too someday. The designer, the guy who made the Silent Hill, he claimed back when Gravity Rush 2 first came out that the only chance of Gravity Rush 3 coming out was with the next console generation. He said when the PlayStation 5 comes out, he will ask for Gravity Rush 3. PlayStation 5 right around the corner. Like, we can only hope and pray that there's some chance of Gravity Rush 3.
And the worst part is, the executives would like look at the sales and be like, well.
Apparently it sold very well in Japan.
So
that's the end of that statement.
Japanese sales aren't anywhere near like
Nope.
300,000 is like a good sale in Japan, whereas like a bad sale in America is like less than 2 million.
It outsold Nier Automata in Japan, I think, or on its first like week or whatever. Everyone who wanted Gravity Rush 2 bought it in the first week, I think, and then it never sold any more copies.
Yeah, the remaster was a Amazon exclusive, right? Physical edition.
The physical,
If you want a physical edition of Gravity Rush remastered and you have it, you're sitting on like $100, $200 game.
Yeah,
right?
I have the remaster for Gravity Rush 1, and it's only gone up in price since I bought it.
It's getting stronger.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, same thing with like, I remember when I purchased the physical copy of Gravity Rush 2 for the first time, I got the last one in the store, and I kind of felt bad because I already owned a digital copy, and I wanted someone else to like find the game.
I would love it if someone was like right behind you and was like running in, like it's raining outside. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. Is you guys have any more copies of Gravity Rush 2?" And he's like, "Oh, that guy just bought the last one."
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I would give away my copy if that happened. Someone was like, "I've never played Gravity Rush, but I heard 2 might be good." I'd be like, "This is yours, son."
Listen, they like put a firm hand on us. You better play the entirety of this game. I'll be checking on you.
Yeah. So so that's what I bought the physical copy. I got the digital version just so I could play it night of. Like I stayed up until whatever it was, 10 o'clock when it was available for me. 21.
Yeah, 9. So.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I like played it that night, and I believe it took me 1 week to complete that game. I think. Yeah, I played it so much that I had a dream about it, and then I woke up and I couldn't remember if that was my dream or an actual level of the game. Like that's
covered in urine when you wake up. Was this a dream?
Yeah,
or
yeah. The 3 games that I played nonstop when I got them were Just Cause 3. I beat in a week. I 100% completed it in a week. Gravity Rush 2. I did not 100% complete it, but yeah, in the first week I had played it like I think it was like 40 hours or something like that in week 1. It ended up taking me like 120 hours to complete it, so I did not complete it in that time. And then the third one was Darkness 2, which I beat in 3 days, or completed in 3 days. Those are my 3 like fastest played games. I just could not put down. But yeah, that's our list.
That's it. That's all.
1 through 20.
We did it. Oh man.
I say what we do just to end it off is to read now that we've said what they all are, read from 1 to 20, because we've read it from like 20 to 1. I think that's a normal order, but now that it's all been revealed, just so you guys like hear, because then every new one you hear, we like less than the previous one you've heard, which I think is kind of an interesting way of looking at it, where it's like, I like this, and then I like this, but a little less, you know? And so I just want to do that once, and then that'll be the end of this series. So you want to go ahead and go while I pull
Sure. Number 1, Metal Gear Solid 4. 2, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. 3, Halo 2. 4, Zelda Twilight Princess HD. 5, Super Mario Sunshine. 6, Tekken Tag Tournament 1. 7, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. 8, Super Smash Bros. for Wii U. 9, Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox. 10, Midnight Club LA for the PS3. 12, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. 13, Mega Man X. 14 Resident Evil 5, 15 Infamous Second Son, 16 Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, 17 Prototype 2, 18 Assassin's Creed 2, 19 Naruto Clash of Ninja 2, and 20 is Super Metroid.
Wow, my list is number 1, Gravity Rush 2, number 2, Alice Madness Returns, number 3, The Darkness 2, number 4, Wet, number 5, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, number 6, Assassin's Creed The Ezio Collection, number 7, Just Cause 3, number 8, Infamous Second Son, number 9, Transformers Fall of Cybertron, number 10, Dead Rising 3, number 11, Pandemic Star Wars Battlefront 2, number 12, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, number 13, Halo 2, number 14, Sunset Overdrive, number 15, Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, number 16, Nier Automata, number 17, Grow Up, number 18, Stacking, number 19, Wolfenstein The New Order, and number 20, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Legacy.
We did it. There it is.
That little scream was because it's on my phone, and I clicked on the screen, and then everything moved for the keyboard to come up, and so then I lost place where I was.
I couldn't see, but from my perspective, I just assumed like it was a naked picture of you in the middle of the list. You're like, oh no.
Oh, this can never appear on camera.
Appears exclusively on camera.
There's no stopping this. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. Go ahead and down below in the comments if you want to tell us some of your favorite games.
I'm assuming if you've stuck this long, right?
Yeah.
You're commenting at this point.
I have to split this episode.
Yeah, no, you have to. It's so long.
3 hours for us.
If you've watched all 3 parts, then I'm absolutely sure you're probably already going to comment down below.
Yeah.
It'd be like irresponsible. Like you wasted your time if you're not invested enough to comment down below.
Yeah, please. But yeah, I mean, like really specifically though, like tell us whatever your favorite games are. I mean, you don't have to have an order like we do. Like we were doing
top
this.
3, top 5.
Yeah. And we'd love to hear them. We'd love to see what you guys love and, kind of give us an idea of what we're looking for. I mean, now that you know what to expect from us, we'd love to hear what we can expect from you. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope this was informative.
Oh yeah. I mean, we ranted for so long about what I guess really tickles our pink in games, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think this is something that should have happened at some point on the channel, and it was just a matter of when. And so here we are sitting at a neat, like 900 almost, I think, subscribers.
Over.
Are we over? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had something special planned for the 1,000, but I don't know if I'll have it done in time.
I have something that I guess I'll just announce at 1,000 probably, but yeah, I don't really know what else to do just because it's coming too fast. Like, I don't know what to do. It's great. I love it. Like you guys, I don't know. You guys are the best.
Currently sitting at 932.
Yeah, this one was actually this whole podcast. I mean, I think we always kind of like thought we'd do something like this maybe someday, but I think it was Master Mosfa who specifically requested it. So we finally got around to like sitting down and, getting a list together and putting it out there and talking about our favorite games and why and how we, whatever. It gives you an idea of what we look for in games whenever we approach a new game, and like you get an idea for what our background is and what we have liked in the past. And so I think that's important, and I think it's there.
Get to know your Meisters.
Yeah, you got to know your Meister. I don't know how I feel about that.
I know, that's it was almost like like a weird throwaway, like cringe, like
get deep in our souls.
You know what they say.
Yeah.
The tears I cry today lubricate the cheeks I clap tomorrow.
We should just leave it there. I don't think I can top that.
All right. You comment, like, subscribe, bell,
Yeah, all the stuff. At this point, what to do. I don't think anyone's sticking around. It's like, wait, how does YouTube work? Yeah. I've been sitting here for hours on end going through this.
Shoot. I've been replaying the same Attack on Titan video on repeat because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
190,000 times.
How was I ever to know?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you around probably. Or hopefully we didn't scare you away.
I hope so.
Oh, until next time.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is the best game of all time. Zoink out.
You're wrong. My game's the best. All right, Zoink out.